The one thing is that time is a great thing if you own real estate, because you will surpass whatever you paid for it if you think you paid too much. Like I said, especially in the last 10 years, house prices more than doubled in less than 10 years. And it's going to continue that way because of the shortage of homes that we have out there. So as builders stop building, immigrants are still coming in. So those people eventually down the road need a house, whether it's a rental or to purchase. And that's going to cause the housing prices to continue to increase in value more so, even more so in the next 2 to 3 years. And like I said, I've always said this, 2026, 27, you're going to see another boom. And I would try to get into a home before then if you can, because you're going to find that housing prices, if you think they're expensive now, wait till then. It's going to be very expensive. Like I said, immigrants are coming in, they're saving their money, and they're going to buy, and there is a lot of them out there right now. Well, you got to watch this segment. Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with RE/MAX, the Golfi team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara Edition, with host Stephanie Vivier.
Hey, Rob. So great to have you back. How's this week been for you?
The week's been good. I think the sales are picking up, and for us it has been. But overall, we're still down a little bit from last year and from last month. So we're not sure what's going on. People are still sitting on the fence waiting and seeing if there's going to be another interest rate drop. But this is also a big month of kids being in school. Like, you know what I mean? Like parents are getting ready. They're going to be, finishing school, and they're going to, they're planning their vacations. This is a big month, but it will pick up, because then all of a sudden people start looking for houses before the school year starts. So they want a closing date, like in August. So that's another big month, especially if, with people that have kids. They want, if they're changing schools and all that kind of stuff. Usually, people that have kids in high school, they kind of stay there until they finish their high school. They don't want to move kids out of high school, because that's where a lot of long-term memories are made with, their friends and stuff like that. So, but yeah, otherwise, that's it. But the one thing I really wanted to talk about is the home evaluation. When people call and they want a free home evaluation, every realtor does that, and which is not a problem. You know what I mean? We go in there, we evaluate the house, we discuss, the reasons why they're selling. And everybody has a different reason, and it could be relocation, it could be divorce, upsizing, downsizing. It could be any reason, or retiring. It could be any reason. So that's where I need to find out what my, just get that information when I'm going on a evaluation. Now, so what we do is we do a visual inspection, right? We go around, take a look at the house, check out everything. Check out all the upgrades and the things that, that have been fixed or not fixed, and check the house all for that. Now, the one thing we do, this is the tough part, the comparative market analysis. So I look at homes that sold, hopefully within the last 30 days. If I can't get it, I go 60 days, because markets change 30, 60, 90 days. Now, I don't go 6 months or more unless you have to. Then I try to adjust it by, see what the market's gone up in that, if it's over 90 days or 120 days. And then I try to base it on, okay, well, let's say you have a 2-story home, 4 bedrooms, double car garage, finished basement. And then let's say there's another house like that, but maybe it's not as nice as the one that I'm looking at now, which it could be yours. I would add some value to that because of that. And then, backyard, if the landscaping's done, that's a little bit you'd add to the curb appeal and everything else, and how the house is maintained, and updates like kitchen and bath if it's in there. So I would do that. Now, if I can't find a number, let's say I'm doing, trying to figure out what the value of this house, and there is no other house that's sold in a year's time. So let's say these people bought this house in 2015. Let's just say they bought it in 2015 for $300,000. So I would do, in that area, I would do a average price sold for the year in that area, and in 2015, to see, okay, what was the average price of a home in the area that they live in 2015. And then I would do the same thing in 2024, what was the average home that's selling right now? And I would try to figure out the percentage. So they bought for 300,000. So let's say it's gone up 200%. Then I would just calculate the 200%. And I say, okay, does that number work with the other numbers, formulas that I put together? And if it does, then I know I'm on track with that. And so, I have 3-4 formulas that I use. And if it's a difficult time to try to figure out a market price for your house. But we go through it together, we talk about it, and we decide what, obviously the expectation of the seller, he's got a number in mind. And then I show him how his the number of what the market is willing to pay for his house. Now, we also look at neighborhoods, schools, amenities, and overall desirability. Like, is this an area that people want to live? And the one thing is the marketing plan. And this is where we excel in more than anybody else. And anybody can, match me, or they can, look at my stuff and say, listen, I have a better system. There's no way. I know that because we analyze everything and everybody what they do out there. The marketing is important. Now, every agent has access to MLS. So now if you have a realtor that's just going to come to your house, give you a price and put on MLS, well, anybody can do that. You can do that for nothing. You can go to a private for sales company and they'll put it on MLS and you deal with everything. Anybody can do that. Okay, so be careful of that. You want somebody that's going to market your house, and actually, like, our online marketing is far superior than anybody else's. Anybody can challenge me on that anytime they want. I can show them, and I dare them to. But the one thing is the online marketing. You want people to see your house. Maybe they weren't even thinking about buying a house, or maybe they're a person that lives a couple of blocks away, but still want to stay in the same neighborhood, but wants a bigger house, but they're not really looking unless something happened across their path. That's where we come in. That's where people see us, our online marketing, our social media, everything else, it shows up. We had one person one time. We had a beautiful house on the water, and the lady saw this in Mississauga, and she didn't even know this place exists. Like it was so beautiful. She calls us up, says, "Hey, this came up on my social media. Can I see this house?" I go, "Absolutely." We showed the house to her, and she bought it. Now, she wasn't looking to buy a house. She wasn't looking at moving, but she fell in love with the pictures online, and she bought the house. And that's where the difference between us and everybody else. And just to give you an example, in Grimsby, more people look at our listings, Google us for listings more than realtor.ca. I couldn't believe it. And I can show those numbers also. Now, realtor.ca is a pretty strong company. They're, pretty strong. Everybody logs onto there to look at listings, but we are actually pretty stronger than they are in the Grimsby market. And we're strong in all different other markets, but we bypass them in amount of people going online looking for listings. So that's the one thing is the marketing you have to look for. And I emphasize, like don't go with the agent that's going to give you the highest price, because you are going to end up being in trouble with that down the road, like chasing the market. And people say, what does chasing the market mean? It just means that, you drop the price, and now you're still above the price, and then the market's changing, and you drop the price again, and all of a sudden, your house is stale. It's stalegate. You have to wait till new buyers come in the market, and the new buyers that come into the market that call you, they already know about your house. They already know that you dropped it 2-3 times. So you got to be careful for that. So there's so many different things. All I say is that if you are going to get your house evaluated, or you're looking to hire a realtor, don't just assume the realtor that you're going to hire is the right realtor. Call for a second or third opinion. Give us a call. It's no obligation. I'm telling you, we will come in. We'll give you a full detailed report, marketing plan, everything else on there. Then if you still want to go with the realtor that you want, not a problem. But always get a second or third opinion. It will make a difference in your life. Now, if you get 3 realtors and 2 of them, their prices are pretty close and one isn't, I'm going to tell you, I'd be very worried about that one that came in too high on the pricing. So you got to have a good marketing plan. And a lot of people I'm telling you, do not have the marketing that we do, or like I said, anybody can challenge me on that, and I know how we run our business and how we see other people run their business, but the evaluation is such an important factor. Do not just assume that just calling one person going in is going to make the difference. Hey, we'll work with people that, you know, they want to try their number first, which I don't recommend, but we will, to show them that we did do that, and if it doesn't go, then you can adjust the price to the market price.
Well, Rob, you know, you said about the marketing, and truly there's not been one person I talk to when I say I do this show with you that doesn't know who you are, doesn't know already about your team. So that's so true. And thank you so much for giving us like a little peek behind the curtain on the evaluation side of things. Like, you know, some people might think it's like a dartboard that you have and you just throw something, but you really have the math and the data behind picking those numbers and knowing where the market is.
Absolutely. And sometimes people don't know, like, you got to be careful on like your mortgage. If you break the mortgage, the penalties. Now, right now, most people's penalties won't be that much because most people's mortgages are lower than what the interest rates are. So the banks are happy to have you cash out because they can resell that money at a higher interest rate. But when you have a high interest rate mortgage, so people that are renewing now, and they renew their mortgage now, and they're at a higher interest rates, and if interest rates drop and you try to break your mortgage, you are going to pay a bigger penalty. So be very careful on what you decide to renew, whether you go variable or 5-year or whatever you're going to do. But all those aspects of it, the cost of moving, people don't know. We spell it out. We'll write it out and say, here's what's going to cost you to move. And then a lot of people will tell you, like I had one person says, Rob, what number am I looking at if I'm looking at buying this house? And I'll tell him, I said, listen, conservatively, this is the number. And I said, look at this number. And meanwhile, we're probably going to list probably a lot higher. But I said, if you work your numbers based on this, I says, you will know your numbers well. You will not be out of line. And if that number doesn't work for you, then don't do it. Because I always give a conservative number, like very conservative. And some people give optimistic numbers. I had one guy one time, years ago, this one gentleman sold this house to somebody. It was I think the house was $275,000. This is many years ago. So this couple bought this house for $275,000, but they had their own house that they lived in. And so they had to sell that. But they went in firm on that $275,000 house. Okay, knowing the agent said that their house would be, I think it was $350,000, right? So he says, okay, there's a big gap there. So he figured, okay, he sells his house for $350,000. He's buying that for $275,000. He's able to finish the basement. There's lots of money there, no problem. So he buys that firm, and then he lists his house with that agent, and nothing's happening, nothing. So for some reason, he calls me. And he says, you know what, we have our house listed, and we're not getting anybody looking at it. And I can't talk too much about it. So I did a little bit of a mini evaluation for him online, but I knew what the right price was. And I go, you're going to be very disappointed in the outcome of the sale of your house. And he goes, what? I go, yeah. He goes, you're going to be very disappointed. And I said, that's all I can say. And so anyway, a month later, he calls me up again. He goes, I'm firing my realtor, and I want you to come by. So I went by and met with him, and I sat with him, and I said, your house value is $300,000. And he goes, what? And he said, I would not have bought that other house if I knew my house was $300,000. Right. And then I showed him the details. I showed him comparables, exactly, like, you know, everything. And he looked at it and he goes, whoa. And then I suggested, I go, why don't you just try selling private? And so he tried selling private for, I know, a little bit, for like $320,000. And it didn't work. So he calls me back. He goes, I want you to list it. And he goes, will you list it for $320,000? I go, you know the price I'm suggesting. It's $300,000 your house is worth. So anyway, I did list at $320,000 for the benefit for him. We didn't get $320,000. We actually got $300,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's been a client of mine ever since. It's been close to 20 years, and but see, that's the difference. You got to be careful on who you hire, because you don't want to end up buying a house and then stuck with another house, and you thought you had the equity there, and there was no equity there because the house price that you were giving was wrong. So that's why you always get a second, third opinion. Give us a call, no obligation. Like I said, we will give you the right number. And my team members, they will come to me and say, Rob, what do you think of this? And I work on numbers all the time. And yes, we can be wrong sometimes because the market changes so fast on us, but get the right number so you know exactly what you're going to end up at the bottom line when you close that deal on that day.
Well, especially, I mean, 200,000, 300,000. I know that was a lot at the time, but especially now, what housing prices are, there's people can't carry those two mortgages even for a week.
No kidding. No kidding.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's a great story and a good reminder to all of us to make sure, whoever you're hiring shows you that background, shows you that data whenever you come up with the house price. Rob, let us peek behind the curtain of Oz a little bit into the numbers game, how it is that you figure out what houses are worth. And that's been super beneficial. And, many Canadians, even though you said, the market's a little flat, there's still a lot of houses out there for sale. What's the main reason Canadians sell their homes?
You know what? It's surprisingly downsizing. And I think it's more seniors. Sometimes they're downsizing. They said it found that 11% of homeowners who say they plan to sell within the next 5 years will do so at least partly because of financial strain is one, or repay debt. It says respondents could choose from multiple reasons for selling, and their responses varied greatly by age. The biggest reason to sell was downsizing, 37%. The fact that downsizing is a priority for so many home sellers only makes sense given Canada's aging population. Now, he notes that just 1% of downsizers were aged 18 to 34, 30% were aged 35 to 54, and the majority, 69%, were aged 55. Now, chosen by 25% respondents, upsizing was tied to relocation as the second most popular reason for selling, and about 94% of those looking to upsize are aged 18 to 54 years old, with a 6% of those aged 55 and up for the same. For the same. Now, of those looking to relocate, the primary reason was to seek a better quality of life. And that is true. A lot of people have been moving across Canada or for a better quality of life. That's basically probably people trying to downsize their mortgage or whatever. This was more common in rural community dwellers, 62%, than the urban dwellers of 51%. So basically, they didn't mention divorce on here. I guess those people didn't answer the phone. So
well, they're too busy fighting with the lawyers,
they didn't want to take the survey. They were so upset. But anyway, yeah. But downsizing and I guess better life, relocation are all the factors. Now those are the people that like I get it. Divorce is people need to move a lot of the times. Downsizing is sometimes a lot of people are doing. Upsizing, more younger generation, they're growing families, chances are for that. So if somebody has a 2-bedroom house and they got one child already and then they probably need a house with 3 or 4 bedrooms, so you're going to see them upsizing. It depends on economic times too, right? I grew up in a bungalow in Niagara Falls, and it was a 3-bedroom bungalow, and I grew up with 3 sisters. I had my own bedroom because I was the only boy of the kids, and my sisters, all 3 of them, were in the same bedroom. They had the biggest bedroom, and so that's how it was back those days. Today, everybody has to have their own bedroom, right? So
yeah, and their own bathroom too, right?
And your own bathroom, right? Exactly. So if we went backwards, if kids today had to share a bedroom with 2 other sisters or brothers, they would be going to school looked at kind of funny, I guess. I don't know. It's a different times today. So. But otherwise, yeah, a lot of different reasons of moving, and it's part of life. Like even during COVID, I remember March. Everybody remembers March, the middle of March.
We'll never forget it. 2020.
Yeah, we had to shut down.
They're shutting the stores down. They're shutting down the border. This is crazy.
They shut down the world, and I'm thinking, and then that's when they were deciding, essential, right? And and they considered real estate essential. So so thank God for us as realtors, they considered us essential because there was so many people that sold their house, and now they're looking. Now they're going to be without a house. Right. So they had to find a house. So we still had to show houses, and we had, all that kind of stuff. We had to get masks and all that kind of stuff. So they like that changed a lot of things. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it, how during that times. And then March, the market was picking up pretty good. Then it died. And then April, May, and then June, it started picking back up again. And then towards the end of the year, it started going and going. And then 2021, it just went rampant. It just went out of control. And
people were in the house and they just hated it. People were working in their houses. They didn't have space to be in their offices alone. And the kids were trying to do school from home. And, they all decided, all right, if we're going to be here, we got to really enjoy this place.
Oh, yeah. Houses with pools were selling like crazy. Cottages were going like crazy because people didn't want to be homebound. Like if you had a house that didn't have anything but, just the four walls and bedrooms and that's it, like, you wanted your kids to have some kind of recreation, so you needed to have some place to go, a cottage or something like that, and that's why the housing prices just went crazy everywhere. People were upsizing, downsizing, and interest rates were getting cheaper and cheaper, and it just drove the market nuts. But that definitely changed the dynamics of people moving. Now people are moving a lot of times because the interest rates are getting a little bit too high. The renewals are coming in, and they may not be able to handle that mortgage payment because they're going from 1.5% to sometimes 5 to 6%. That's a big jump. It's not just like a 1 or 2% interest rate jump. It is a big, like it's a 4.5% interest hike, which can really devastate a family financially.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. That COVID certainly changed a lot of our lives forever for many reasons, but real estate lives for sure. And now you're seeing all of those changes. Something we talk a lot about on the show, Rob, is investors. And, you talk about there's all kinds of different size investors, from people having maybe one rental property in addition to their own property to people who do this for a living. Where's the state of real estate investors at this time?
Investors right now, they're not like if you're a new investor and you want to buy real estate, it's becoming tough. Buying a single family home or a condo, it doesn't make sense right now just because of the fact it doesn't cover. You want your renter to pay for your mortgage, taxes, and insurance. And if that covers, and you're good to go. But a lot of times it doesn't, even with 20% down. Housing prices have gone up too much and quite a bit, and I don't think they're going to come down anymore because we've got too many population in this country that it's just not going to happen, and we don't have enough houses. Even though there's condos available that are for sale that aren't selling, it's just because the majority of the condos are bought by investors, and that's why a lot of them are sitting. They're not being rented because the investors want too much money, or they're not being purchased. That's why a lot of condo buildings aren't being built, because it's driven by investors. So right now it's tough. If you're an investor, I would be purchasing a multifamily home, like a fourplex or a sixplex. It's the only way that you can actually afford to have your mortgage, taxes, and insurance and water, whatever, paid, and have your tenants pay also. But it's tough, and that's why a lot of the investors, they're just kind of sitting on the sidelines and wondering what's going to happen. Even if interest rates drop a bit, it's still going to be tough for them to rent out enough to cover the expenses that house is going to carry that house. So I think what's that's going to happen there is that a lot of people, if you're a renter and you're renting a house, they're becoming far and few between, because like the mom and pop that bought these houses and rented them out years ago, they're getting older now. They're selling them, and the people that are buying them are, first-time buyers. They're cleaning them up, fixing them up, and that's houses that are going off the market for rent. And the only houses that are going to be available are the ones that are in apartment buildings. And and not everybody wants to raise their family in an apartment building. Sometimes people just want to have a place to like have a little backyard, whether it's a townhouse or a regular single family detached home. So it is becoming tough out there for an investor. So and like even myself, like I won't look. It's too expensive to buy a single family home to rent out. You got to buy a multi-residential.
Okay, so not being able to rent a house is something that we might at some point see a thing of the past.
It'd be a luxury thing if you have a house that you're renting. It will be a luxury down the road. That's for sure. Yeah.
Wow. And you talked about last week how many more people are renting now. So that's it's a huge disparity between what we need and what we have at this point.
Oh, absolutely. Some people have to sell their houses because the interest rates are too high, and they're selling their homes and renting, and they're just going to wait and see how the market goes. But I mean, if there's any way, if you own a house, try not to get out of the market, because it is so hard to get back into that market. And you know what happens if you have some money that once you sell the house and there's some money in your pocket, you're going to end up spending it. And like you got to put it aside. But like real estate markets, if you look back since 1960, January of 1960 till today, housing prices doubled every year since then, every decade. And the only decade they haven't changed in price was the 90s. From 1990 to 1999, the prices basically stayed stagnant. It was one of the worst recessions since the Great Depression in probably the 1930s. But the one thing is that time is a great thing if you own real estate, because you will surpass whatever you paid for it if you think you paid too much. Like I said, especially in the last 10 years, house prices more than doubled in less than 10 years. And it's going to continue that way because of the shortage of homes that we have out there. There's, they can't build enough homes. It's just builders aren't building right now because of the interest rates. So as builders stop building, immigrants are still coming in. So those people eventually down the road need a house, whether it's a rental or to purchase. And that's going to cause the housing prices to continue to increase in value more so, even more so in the next 2 to 3 years. And like I said, I've always said this, 2026, 27, you're going to see another boom. And I would try to get into a home before then if you can, because you're going to find that housing prices, if you think they're expensive now, wait till then. It's going to be very expensive. Like I said, immigrants are coming in, they're saving their money, and they're going to buy, and there is a lot of them out there right now.
They are ready to buy. So if you can get in there, you're going to tell us a little bit about what to actually look for from buying a house, but we'll hold off for that for now, because we were talking about renting. And you've, talked about on the show in the past, the different things that we have here in Ontario when it comes to, landlords having rights and tenants having rights, and how the whole system we have now maybe needs a little bit of a revamping.
Oh, yeah. You know what? In Vancouver, it's a little quicker for people to go to the landlord tenant board, but the rental housing crisis in Canada, like the scarcity of rental housing with demand for exceeding supply, it's crazy. It's skyrocketing rents, over the past few years. Now, increasing rental housing rapidly is challenging. Like it's becoming difficult. Like, basement, secondary units, and everything else like that are a solution. But how long is that? Challenges for the landlords. Broken landlord-tenant dispute resolution mechanisms. There's too many long delays. Like it's taking a long time for landlords to take tenants to the board, or vice versa. What it is that people are scared to even rent their houses out. They're like, well, I'm not sure if I want to rent that unit out. I'm going to keep it empty for a while, because if I put a tenant in there, they may not leave if I have to get rid of them and sell. So there's a lot of empty units out there, and just because of the fact of the landlord tenant board. Now, over here it says Ontario Landlord and Tenant Board, severe backlog of cases, 20,000 in 2020 to 53,000 by March of 2023, an average of 342 days to resolve eviction cases for non-payment. You know, like this isn't great. It is. It's terrible. Like like 84% of complaints, inadequate resources and cumbersome adjudicators and appointment process. Now, a landlord battling this is a true story. A landlord battling cancer sought eviction of a tenant for personal space, but faced prolonged delays and ultimately died before the resolution. So a landlord had cancer. He wanted to move back into his house. He wanted the last, months or years of a year of his life to be in his house, and he ended up couldn't get in there because of this. British Columbia, the residential tenancy branch handles complaints faster with expedited hearings within 12 days and urgent matters within 6 days, despite increased wait times due to surge in complaints. Disputes in BC are resolved within weeks and months, unlike Ontario's years-long delays. So this is causing major problems for us in Ontario.
Yeah, it really is. And, kind of going back to what you were talking about earlier with people not wanting to rent their places out. This is the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara edition. I'm your host, Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is our guest, and he's going to stick around with us here in just a couple of minutes. He's going to tell you what to actually look for when buying a house. Rob, I am very excited for this next segment because you're going to break it down, what to actually look for when buying a house, because buying a house, as you've talked about in the past, it's very emotional, right? This is where we live. This is where we tend and care for our families, and we want to keep them safe. So sometimes, things like the paint color really catch our eye, or we like the way the landscaping is in the front, but there are certain things we should look for. What are those?
So the first thing I do when I pull up to a house, I look at the roof. I look at the shingles and see what condition they're in. And, you know what I mean? Like, how much life does it have left? Windows are important. Let's see if they're wood windows. The house was built in the 80s. The vinyls were just coming out during the 80s. The 70s definitely has wood windows. I remember painting my windows on one of my older homes that I had, so trying to keep it, and the sun would beat on it, so I had to paint those windows almost every 2-3 years because the sun just beat on those windows. But also cracks, like in the plaster, cracks in the brick, like maybe there's something shifted. You got to take a look at that, and then I look. And the first thing I do is I walk around and I take a look at the downspouts. I want to know if the downspouts have like a runner, like water running away from the house. Do they have like a tube? You know how you can have water run from the house so it doesn't go straight down into the foundation. I look at that. Right. Then once I'm in the interior, if I find moisture in the corners and I see that the water's just running down the foundation, then I know that it needs a soffit, like a tube for the water to run away from the house. But the inside, definitely the attic is something you have to take a look at to see what the insulation's in there. The cracks in the plaster, see if it's damp. Floors, kitchen. What else is there? Bathrooms. There's so many different things to look at. With the
attic, Rob, you would go, like, the first time you go see a house, like if it's a potential, one that you're going to be interested in, you would actually go up in the attic that first visit?
Not the first visit, but I would ask him. But I always tell my clients, take a look in the attic. You never know. You might have something dead up there. You want to get rid of it because
we've all seen movies about attic.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? There's people don't know what they have in their attic. There's people that bought a house, moved in, and moved out, and they haven't even seen what's in the attic. I'm telling you. So it's always good to look in the attic before you put your house up for sale, because if there's something up there that shouldn't be up there, you want to take care of that. You want to fix it, or you want to take care of it. because a lot of people don't know. So the one thing is the attic. I don't have a ladder with me all the time, but I do tell people to make sure they look in the attic before the house goes on the market, just in case there's something there that needs to be taken care of. And that is important. And like, I remember one time I was telling this one lady, she lived in St. Catharines, and she was a widow. Her husband died, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years prior, and I said to her, you should take a look in the attic. And I said, sometimes, like, I know elderly people, they have a tendency of hiding things, right. And a lot of times they put it in the attic and they forget. So, yes. So I said to her, listen, why don't you have somebody help you find, take a look in the attic before we put it up for sale, because you don't want to end up finding out that, something's left behind and new people move in and all of a sudden they find something, valuable that they're going to benefit from. So anyway, she goes, oh, Rob, can you do it for me? And I'm like, okay. So I had to go to the garage and get the ladder, and I go up in the attic, and you're not going to believe this. There was a box of, like, jewelry, personal items, everything. She was in tears. Oh, my She was in tears. This is a true story, St. Catharines. Wow. It was a true story, and she thanked me so much. And just because of the fact, like her husband probably put that there to keep it safe, just in case they ever got robbed. Nobody would see it. Nobody would find it. And she, like, there was stuff there she even forgot she had. And she just, like, see what I'm saying? Check the attic. Like, a lot of times I tell people, especially right now with estate sales, the trustees, the kids that are selling the parents' a place, check the attic. Check hidden places in the house, because elderly people, they worry about people robbing their house. They hide things and everything else. Don't throw everything in the freezer away. There's probably a bag of jewelry in the freezer. Check things out. I'm telling you, because you'll find that a lot of hidden stuff is in houses, and people find money all the time, and people forget that they hid money. So the one thing is the attic is something, if you're selling, to double check. But if you're buying, check to see if you got vermiculite insulation or some kind of insulation that is not good for you. But you take a look at everything when you're buying a house. There's a checklist that you can have, and you rate it. Just give it a rating. Just say, the shingles, the kitchen, the bathroom, the flooring, all that kind of stuff, because they cost money to upgrade, and you don't want to end up finding out that you move in and say, whoa, okay, this is a lot more work than I anticipated. Now I can't afford to renovate for years because it cost me a lot of money just to get the down payment to put on this house. So you really got to be careful when you're buying a house. Don't just jump in. I had some people buy a house, and I tell them, don't you want a home inspection? We're not in competition. No, they wanted to save $400 paying for a home inspector. But when they move in, they got thousands of dollars in repairs to do. And and I tell them, I said, like, if you did, you probably wouldn't have bought this house, or we could have negotiated a better price or whatever. And they realize that. So always have a home inspection done. Do not just let it fly and think what you get. I've bought houses where I'll tell you that without home inspections, but I knew I was going to do major renovations, but there was even more stuff that was involved in repairs. And I remember one realtor one time in Beamsville, and he bought this farmhouse. And you know what? Realtors, they feel they know a lot more. Like they know enough that sometimes they don't get a home inspection. This realtor had to put a whole corner foundation redone, whole corner of this old house. So be very careful. I'm telling you, get the inspection done if you can get it. And sometimes, you know what, if they're holding offers and you think you want that house, get a home inspection done and do it while you're even though you're in competition, you may not get it, but it's $400 spent on a home inspection. And if you do get the house, at least you know what you got, or at least you know what you didn't want or get because maybe it did have too many problems on it. But
yeah, $400 can save you a lot of hassle in the long run.
oh, for sure, for sure. If you do a home inspection on a house before they take offers, and let's say there's 3 major problems, you go to that agent and say, hey, listen, we did a home inspection on this house. You got these 3 problems. You're going to have to disclose this to the other agents too. So you kind of euchred him a little bit, but so you gotta watch. So there's always that method of playing, and that agent will have to disclose, unless then he'll have to get his own inspection to verify that that inspection was correct. And like if I had a house listed, and let's say, Stephanie, if I had your house listed and I put on the market, and all of a sudden somebody does a home inspection and there's a problem, major structural problem, and they walk away from the deal, I got 2 things to do. I got to get an engineer or get a structural engineer there to take a look at that, or I got to disclose that to anybody that looks at that house or thinking about bringing an offer in. I cannot sell that house without disclosing that. And sometimes the homeowner says, no, you can't say that. I can't do that. I'm not going to, that's our, we're trained, and we're ethically supposed to disclose if there's any problems. So the best way to do it is get an engineer, a structural engineer. Maybe that home inspector didn't know what he was talking about, but get a structural engineer, and then we get it, him saying it does it pass or not pass. And if it passes, then we can go move forward and put the house up for sale and say, hey, we got a structural engineer from an engineer saying that the foundation is in good shape. So you got to be very, very careful on buying a house, no matter what. There's a lot of things involved. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's why it's good to have an expert, someone that's been through it many, many times with their clients, like Rob Golfi and the Golfi team. Rob, Taylor Swift is everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Everybody wants to get to her shows, hottest ticket on the planet. You know, there's all kinds of articles about her and her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, and now she's even impacting the housing market. How is this happening?
I couldn't believe this when I read this. It says cities hosting Taylor Swift concerts saw home prices rise by an average of 2.1%, a substantial increase compared to the national average growth of 0.5% during the same period. This was seen especially in Atlanta, where it increased by 8.8% following a concert. Taylor Swift's concert, I know, it's crazy. Taylor Swift's concerts boosted local economies through increased spending on accommodations, food, activities, and concert tickets. Concert goers reportedly spend nearly $1,000 on average in the host city. So when people go see, so they're spending that kind of money. And they listed all the cities that she's gone to. And I don't know. I found it hard to believe, but I guess it is true. So now I know Taylor Swift's coming to Toronto, so we'll see what happens after that. But it also says Taylor Swift's had remarkable economic impact on cities hosted her performances. The presence of her concerts has led to significant increases in local housing markets, with an average home price of 2.1%. Now, in Atlanta, the increase in average home prices soared 8.8. Tampa experienced the second largest boost from the tour, with an 8.2% increase in home prices, while Glendale, Arizona, saw a 6.5% increase. Both cities actively embraced Taylor Swift and on her tour. For instance, during the tour stop, Hillsborough County, which includes Tampa, temporarily rebranded itself as Swiftboro. I know, isn't that's the Americans for you? But I don't know. Like when I read this. Like, I mean, they've got the numbers, I guess. That's, you know, like, I guess that's how powerful she is. People, they go visit that city where she is playing and having the concert. People love the city. And then they say, hey, maybe we should look at moving to the city or whatever. But yeah, housing prices, moved up from that because of Taylor Swift. So that wave of Taylor Swift. So now she's coming to Toronto. So now's the time to buy. She's coming to Toronto in November. So buy now, and it's going to be up. That's what we got to do. Invest. That's where you do.
I bet you a lot of people who are coming to the concert will still want to do some tour stuff, you know, maybe come down to Niagara Falls, see what the Niagara region has to offer. So you never know. It could affect us here too.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? Niagara Falls. I grew up in Niagara Falls. I love that city. It's I rode my bike every square corner of that city. I know that city so well. I'm there all the time anyway. I love seeing old friends from high school and everything else like that. But yeah, I definitely love Niagara Falls.
Okay, Rob. So here's the question. Maybe Taylor Swift isn't your artist, but say when you were about the age of the Swifties, in that like 15 to 25-year-old age range, what artist could have inspired you to spend that kind of money on tickets?
You know what? It's kind of hard. I was like, I liked, I'll tell you, who I really liked, and people are going to laugh about this. I saw Loverboy in high school, and I liked them. I liked their music. It was good. It had a good beat. I saw Foreigner was great. They were great. I didn't really have like a really like, this is my favorite band I got to see. I just kind of liked a little bit of everything. And, but yeah, no, I was more, I don't know what it was. I was just a generally liked everything. Like there wasn't a favorite. How about yours? What about yours? Did you have a favorite, band or?
I don't think, okay, so Matchbox 20, I really, really love. And last year they came to the Budweiser stage in Toronto, which is such a great place to see a concert, especially in the summer. And I did splurge and do the meet and greet because I'm just such a nerd like that. So.
Nice.
But these Taylor Swift tickets, that's like we're talking house down payment.
Oh,
so
big time.
Yeah, I'm not going to splurge on any of that. Well, Rob, this has been another great show with you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And if anyone wants to get a hold of Rob and the #1 RE/MAX team in Canada, you can give them a call at 905-641-0308. Also online at robgolfi.com. That's Rob, GOLFI.com. Rob, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah, picking the wrong realtor, that'd be a big mistake. That cost me money.
Hi, Rob here, and hey, we get it. We get that the right realtor makes all the difference. My advice, talk to 3 realtors, including one from the Golfi team. Compare and you'll see no one gets results like Golfi because of the millions we invest in marketing, getting you the most money in the least amount of time.
The Golfi team, Golfi gets it sold.
Pick the right realtor. Just Google Golfi.